Welcome to Divorce Mortgage Strategies, brought to you by the Divorce Lending Association, where clarity meets strategy in the financial side of divorce. Whether you're a family law professional, a financial expert, or someone navigating the complexities of divorce yourself, this podcast is your go-to resource for trusted insight into how real property and mortgage financing intersect with divorce outcomes. We don't just talk about houses. We talk about strategic solutions that protect futures. Let's dive in. Today, we welcome host, certified divorce lending professional Theresa Jones, and her guest, family law attorney Joe Zanger.
Welcome. I'm the guest host, Theresa Jones, and today we have Joe Zanger of Zanger Law Firm. He is a well-renowned attorney in Middle Tennessee. Joe, I was thinking the other day, I think it's been a while since we met.
I'd say about almost 15 years, isn't it?
I think 16 or so since Philip got me into helping at the forensics, where you're I think you're in charge now, aren't you?
Well, they like to call me the commissioner of the Nashville Catholic Middle School Forensics League, but I still just consider myself the coach at St. Joseph. But yeah, it's fun to be the commissioner.
Right.
There's not much headache to it. I enjoy it.
That's awesome. So in all of your family law cases, because I know you've had a number over the years, what is something that most clients misunderstand about the divorce process, or things that you've stumbled across where you have to re-educate them on the front end?
Oh, there's a lot. I think first and foremost, people don't understand that it's a lawsuit. You know, they get tied up with this word family, they get tied up with the word divorce, but it's a lawsuit and it's about money. And that's where people go wrong when they get involved in divorces, because it's not about your emotions, and it's not about, you know, taking the other person to the cleaners. It's really not even about breaking up a marriage. I mean, you did that already, and that's why you're in court in a divorce. Marriage is a social and a legal contract, and so you have to have a legal process to undo it. People don't understand that. It's a lawsuit. They become involved in a lawsuit. And then the other thing that they don't remember is that lawsuits don't settle like they do on TV. It doesn't happen in 20 minutes with timeout for commercials. These things take a long time. The average divorce takes about six months to 10 months to resolve, and it can resolve faster. I mean, I've always said, in all my experience, I haven't had a divorce where reasonable people could not solve it in 15 minutes over coffee and donuts. But given all of the emotional angst and everything else and ties up with divorces, that's not likely to happen. I think it's happened maybe once or twice in the 23 years that I've been practicing law. But those are some of the basic things. It's a lawsuit, and it's going to take some time, and you have to stop caring about emotions and start caring about facts, because that's all a court cares about.
It's interesting that you've brought up emotions twice, because in my banking background over the years, it's something that I have seen over and over and over again. I call it emotional exhaustion. They're just, they're, they'll come in and they'll be like, I don't care if the spouse gets everything. I just want to be divorced. Even then, I would try to say, you contributed, you participated in this, you need to look out for your own future. And it's hard sometimes.
Hopefully that's why they hired a lawyer, and they're going to let the lawyer do that. I mean, we get a lot of that emotional exhaustion and people that just want to rush through the process because it's just too hard. And I get it. I've been divorced. Luckily, we didn't have any children, but I thought we were building a life together, and all of a sudden it comes crashing down. So I understand the feelings. It's almost grief. I mean, the 5 steps of grief that you go through with a divorce. And that's not a new thought, but people shouldn't rush that. You can't rush that. If you've lost someone close to you to death, you learn very quickly, and the hard way usually, that you can't rush through the stages of grief. So we hold people's hands as best we can and say, look, if you rush through this, you're going to get screwed. You're going to get taken to the cleaners, and you can't do it. And we keep coming back to, It's about the money. This is a financial thing that you're unwinding. You have to put your emotions aside. So tell me all you want that you want to get it done as quickly as possible, but don't do anything to get in my way of unwinding this economic situation for you. And so often people will just call the other person in their marriage and say, whatever you want, I want out. When that happens, it's hard for us to change that because the other person probably has an attorney who's going to jump all over that.
Right.
And so it takes us some time to undo that kind of texting or that kind of communication. I started practicing in the early part of the century when cell phones weren't as ubiquitous as they are now. Texting has really changed the equation because it's so easy to text the other side, to text your spouse and maybe say something you shouldn't say, or text something you shouldn't say, or agree to something that you shouldn't agree to. So you have to be careful, especially these days.
Yeah, I can see where texting has changed it so much. And the emotions are high, or you're in that if only or questioning, and you send a text message and it just pivots everything to a totally new direction.
You can do that. I mean, the first thing people should do in a divorce is block the other person's texts. Just, you can't text them, they can't text you. Just block them. That's going to be the best thing to do. But so many of them have children, and of course, you have
Yeah,
to
you really
communicate about
can.
children.
So when you see somebody rushing the process because they just want to get done, what types of things do they end up losing out? I mean, obviously, like, does it affect the discovery process or
Well, in worst case scenarios, it will affect the discovery process, and that they'll just say, "I'm not answering any of that," and then the court will say, "Well, then I'm striking your pleadings, and we're going to give everything to the other side." And that's happened once or twice, where I just have someone who's just so angry, I guess. And I really think that's what it is. They're angry and they're hurt, and so they're just not going to engage, and they've wound up regretting that. But the other thing that can happen, the more likely things that can happen, are if there are children involved, the child support won't be adequately figured so that you're either paying too much child support or not receiving enough because you rushed through the process. Of course, the other thing is the real estate. If you own real estate, you really can't rush. But so many people want to look up on Zillow, which is, I find Zillow is very often a great tool to give us ballpark estimates and get the conversation started. But when it comes down to what it's going to sell for and things like that, you need an appraisal. You need a real estate agent to go in there and say, this is what it's worth. Here are the comps. Here's what everything in the neighborhood's selling for. You need that. And if you're just rushing through it, you're going to agree to whatever Zillow or whatever these websites are telling you. And then you may have given away either a great deal on the worth of the house, or you've overpaid somebody to buy them out. So these are the most practical things that happen when people rush through the divorce because they just want to get it done. And of course, I don't know how important it is to this discussion, but very often they give up time with their kids, and that's where it gets tragic. Fathers especially are like that. Fine, I'll take every other weekend. Well, the laws have changed, Dad. I mean, you don't have to take every other weekend. The law says that we're supposed to give each parent as much as equal time as possible that's in the best interest of the child. That means you get more days than every other weekend. But so many fathers just rush through this, and fathers in particular. I've seen mothers do it from time to time, but for some reason, that's a particularly male mistake. I don't know
yeah.
why that
Well,
is.
I think it's just become ingrained that, divorced dad, you get them every other weekend. But I do see a lot of divorces now where the kids go stay with mom for 1 week and they stay with dad the next, and they do the holidays even in odd years, and because it is much, and that's got to be better on the kids.
Oh, it's much better on the kids. And that week to week, that doesn't always work out because sometimes one of the parents is driving 2 hours to get the children to school. So that doesn't always work out. So that's changed a little bit. And the Tennessee Supreme Court handed down a case and said, nah, that's not what that means. You look at it's not so much the time, look at that phrase, best interest of the children. And that's what the judges are now basing their decisions on. But there's no reason for any father or any mother, any parent, to accept minimal parenting time under most conditions.
That is important for them to know. So, do you have memorable case that you've worked on where some of these things came into play?
Yes, and I have to be careful because I don't want to give too many details or people might guess.
Absolutely. Vague. Yeah, vague is good.
I had one recently in Davidson County where the husband was put out of the house because the wife said, "Well, I'm afraid of him, and we can't live together." And so the judge said, "Okay, leave the house." And the father, or not the father, because there were really no minor children, the husband got very incensed, and he was my client, and I couldn't. It had a long time talking him off this particular limb, but he was so angry that he had been put out of his house that the divorce dragged on almost 2 years. And for 2 years, he wasn't living in his house. And so that sense of, and that's something I didn't mention. In addition to rushing through, the other end of that is that people will fight every point, and not all of them are worth fighting. This particular gentleman was very incensed, and he had kind of met his match because every time he wanted to fight something, so did his soon-to-be ex-wife, and so they fought for 2 years, and he was out of his house for 2 years, and that it was heartbreaking to me. So they finally got the appraisal on the house, and at the end of the day, his mortgage went up from $800 a month because he had gotten the mortgage back in the 80s, and now it tripled on him. And it didn't have to do that. Had the case not drug out so long, then he probably wouldn't have had to pay that because but he fought every point and she fought back on every point. So that's probably the most memorable one I've had.
Yeah, that's something that you and I teaming up together could help mitigate. Just me running the numbers and showing, make your case stronger by saying, look, husband, if we can not fight every point, we can get your mortgage here and you could be back in the house by swapping out other assets, potentially,
Yes. But
assumptions.
both sides, yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but
Oh,
both
no, you're
sides have
good.
to be reasonable there. And like I said, we could have done it in 10
Reasonable is
minutes with reasonable
important.
people.
Yeah. But I'm saying
Yeah.
that those emotions are running high and, then all the text messages start flying. And yeah, I've got a friend right now who is trying not to argue every point because she sees how that slows it down. But it's hard sometimes. And sometimes I just let her talk and then I'll say, whatever. And then she gets it all in her head before she goes back to the attorney. So that helps sometimes, but it can be difficult. So,
Well, if I could give anybody that has real estate in a divorce advice before they even go to the attorneys, is agree on the real estate agent. You would not believe the kinds of fights we have. Oh, she suggested so and so I don't trust them. And he suggested so, and I happen to know that she's their best friend and all this kind of thing. So if they could agree on a real estate agent first before things got rolling, then the path was a lot clearer too.
well, they
I don't know
really
how
only,
often.
I'm sorry,
I'm sorry.
I was going to say they really only need the real estate agent if they're going to sell the house, though, right? I mean, we could get appraisals without a real estate agent. Um,
Well, the problem with not using a real estate agent we found is that they then get in a big argument over the asking price, whether they should accept this offer, accept that offer. It's been our experience, honestly, that you need a real estate professional involved. If you don't have a real estate professional involved, things are going to get sticky no matter how friendly, no matter how cooperative each of you tries to be, because there's just too many issues involved in the sale of a house
Right.
Um,
And that's what I'm saying. If you're selling the house, you're going to need a real estate agent.
exactly.
I was thinking more if one was going to keep the house and live in it.
Well, that's a whole nother set of problems.
We'll do that on another episode.
Okay, that'll be good.
Okay, let me ask you this then, because it came to me a few minutes ago during let's say that they're arguing over the value of the house, and one of them does want to buy the other one out of equity. Have you had that kind of negotiation? What
Yes.
types of things do you do to counter it?
Well, the most likely reason for that stalling is because the person attempting to do the buyout realizes they don't have the credit to do the buyout. And it's hard to explain to them that there's not a whole lot you can do if no one's going to underwrite your buyout. So that's if that happens, there's not a whole lot that we can do. Now, we have been in situations where everybody's agreed. There's been an appraisal, there's been an agreement, and then there's, all of a sudden the person who is giving over their interest in the house stalls, stops. Wait a minute. And it's usually emotion. That's usually number one. Oh my gosh, that's my house. I bought it. I love it. My kids live in it. I love cutting the lawn. And that's the first thing. The other thing is they just decided they were wrong to do it and they didn't get enough money out of it. And this is why the appraisals and real estate professionals are so important because once these deals are made, they're going to go talk to their buddy at the bar or their friend at the office or whatever, and they're going to say, well, you didn't get enough. I mean, and it just goes, that's the main reason that those kinds of negotiations stall. Non-professional advice from people who have been through it before. So
The
I
ubiquitous
think,
them. They said, yeah,
yeah, the
I
ubiquitous them. I like that term. That's a great term. But if the lawyers and the real estate agents can just grab them by the hand and show them the numbers, it might take a while, but eventually they all succumb to logic. Eventually they all succumb to facts. And the ones that don't are the ones that get hurt. And but most of them eventually will see the light and do the right thing. But yeah, the real estate, especially if you've owned it for a long time, that could be a problem.
it can. Well, I do really appreciate you spending some of your time with me today.
Well, I've
Um,
enjoyed it. This is my first podcast.
awesome. So, well, you did great and thank you for participating. Before we end, if someone who could benefit from your expertise, where could they go to find out more about you?
Well, we're on the web like everybody else, zangerlaw.com. There's a way to contact us there. Our phone number, if you can remember 10 digits anymore, most of us have lost that skill. It's 615-672-0511. And when you hire the Zanger Law Firm, there's paralegals here and two lawyers, myself and my daughter, who's a forensics kid. And when you hire the firm, you hire both of us. So you get the best of both worlds.
Yeah, and Claire is a bulldog. She is amazing. I have
Well,
always loved watching her in action. I'll
well,
get her on the podcast sometime soon.
yes, she would be great. And I don't want to be, too much of a proud dad, but she's very good because she's very smart.
She
She's
is.
just very
She is
smart
so
and she
smart.
knows the law very well. So
She is very smart.
thank
So,
you for letting me promote her there.
absolutely. I mean, I love Claire. She's always impressed me. So let's all toot her horn, you know?
Okay.
Do you have one final thought that you want to leave with us today?
I have two. First,
Okay.
you know, the courts have these websites and they have these forms. You can do it yourself divorce. Now, if it's a very simple thing, no kids, no real estate, no cars, no money, no nothing involved, fine. Fill out those forms and you can get a quick divorce, as quick as you can. You have to wait 60 to 90 days in Tennessee to get a divorce. But if there's anything involved, anything, children, cars, any kind of property, any kind of real estate, don't try to do it yourself. In fact, some counties won't let you do it yourself, especially if there's real estate involved. But so many times people have come to us and said, we try to do it ourselves. And it costs a lot of money to undo that and get it done right. So that's the first thing. The other thing is divorce is expensive. And so don't be swayed by firms that say, well, I need $10,000 up front or $5,000 up front, because that's usually what drives people to try to do it themselves. And
Okay,
they're
Joe,
not the
you
same
just
as
froze for a minute there. Would you go back and say that again from there's
a lot of firms out there. Payment plans are not the same as for everybody. It's not like a bank where, if it's this much, you're going to have, they fit the need of the client and the situation of the case. But there are a lot of firms that do that. And so if you can't afford that $5,000 or $10,000 up front, go find a firm that will help you pay as you go. So
I
those are
didn't
my
even
two
know that
thoughts.
y'all did that. That's fantastic. I will keep that in
Well,
mind.
and we're not the only ones. There's a lot of firms that do that.
That's
And make
awesome.
sure that the lawyer is really concerned with you, because there are a lot of billing factories out there that just want to take your case and then bill you. So
I have seen
try to
that
get a
too.
sense of if that lawyer is really concerned about your case, recognizes the issues, and it's not going to do a kind of a connect the dots kind of divorce for you, because they're all different.
Yeah, kind of like doing a mortgage. I have found every single one, even though you're buying conventional 20% down, it's always different. Every
Yep.
single one. So
Because we're all dealing with families. I mean, you're dealing with families, we're dealing with families, and they're all different. There's not two alike.
absolutely. Well, again, I appreciate your time, Joe. That was fantastic and lots of good advice in there. And
Well, I appreciate being asked. This was fun.
perfect. All right. Well, I will touch base with you soon and thank you for being on the podcast.
Thank you for asking. See you soon.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us on Divorce Mortgage Strategies, powered by the Divorce Lending Association. If today's conversation brought you clarity, insight, or inspiration, we encourage you to subscribe and share this episode with others in your circle. For more resources, or to connect with a certified divorce lending professional in your area, visit divorcelendingassociation.com. And be sure to download the free Divorce Strategy Hub mobile app for tools, education, and support designed to guide you through the financial side of divorce. Until next time, remember, in divorce, the mortgage isn't the problem, it's the plan.